The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, wow. Good evening, everybody. My name's Randy Hood, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our webinar tonight. And I know we've got people calling in from all over the world, so I'd like to welcome some of our people from, I know we've got some people in South Africa that got up very early this morning to listen to us. So thank you very much for being here. And I want to just start off by saying, you know, we're going to be talking about a little bit about TTouch, which I know a lot of people online are familiar with, as well as we're going to be talking about a product that we got connected to. I got introduced to it about 8 years ago, and it's a company called Lifewave, and it's a very interesting product that when I first started with it, I started realizing that it was something that could really help a lot of people and also a lot of animals. And so I introduced it to my sister, Robyn Hood, and we'll get them on here in a minute. But what I'd like to do is just say that, you know, Robyn Hood and Linda Tellington Jones have been traveling around the world, working with people with TTouch, working with people and their animals, and just making such a difference for so many people. And it's my pleasure to introduce Robyn Hood and Linda Tellington Jones to the call here tonight. And sisters, how are you doing tonight?
Very well, thanks.
Great.
Excited to have the whole family, or half of our family.
Well, it's great. Well, it's great to have both of you on the line here tonight. And also, just so you know, we've got Dr. Quila Rider, who's going to be speaking a little bit later here. And Dr. Quila Rider is been involved with me with the Lifewave business for 8 years as well. She's a a doctor of acupuncture, as well as an RN for 40 years, and has a lot of knowledge about the Lifewave patches. And we'll be lucky enough to have her speaking after this. But maybe Robyn and Linda, you can start off by maybe telling a little bit about what your experience has been with Lifewave, and then we can go into a little bit about how the Lifewave patches can work with TTouch as well, please.
Sure. Thanks, Randy. This is Robyn. And for me, my brother introduced this concept to me probably, I think, close to 8 years ago, and I was extremely skeptical, as I am about things. And so it took me a couple of years of really trying things, because I'm not willing to share things with people unless I feel that they really work for me. And so one of my first most powerful experiences was actually with our farrier, who came one day almost unable to stand up because he'd been hurt at a horse the day before. And so I used just the simple clock method, knowing very little about it, and I patched him in the first place that I put the two patches. Didn't really make a difference, and so in about 15 seconds, he said it didn't make a difference. I moved it to the next place, and within 15 seconds, he stood up. He stretched his back. He said, "My back doesn't hurt," and he proceeded to work, trim horses and shoe without any problems at all. So I was fairly impressed with that, and I've just continued to use it over the years on people mostly, and then more recently in the last year or so on a variety of animals. What about you, Linda?
Well, I think it was about 4 years ago when you were here in Hawaii co-teaching with me and brought the patches. And our family has been had an interest in health for about almost 60 years in various aspects of health and wellness. And so when Robyn brought these patches, I thought, well, they were interesting, but you know, we've got TTouch, so why do I need the patches? So I kept some, and it was interesting because I really trust my brother and sister, but I didn't have any reason to use it. And then last year, you brought them again, and we had somebody in the class that had a lot of pain, and you patched them, and man, whoa, it was less than a minute, and the pain was just like gone. So, well, that's pretty interesting. I think I'm going to pay more attention. And then the week after you left, a friend of mine had been out cutting these big tropical flowers with her chainsaw, reaching out and holding this heavy chainsaw, and she had injured her rotator cuff so badly. She was in a tin pain, and just, it was really bad. So I said, here, give me your arm. I did about 30 minutes of TTouch, and it really helped her. And there was much less pain, and she could sit quietly, and then she was fine until she reached down to touch her dog, and it came back. I thought, okay, now I'm going to test these pain patches. And I put a pain patch on, and just the same thing as Robyn, I put the hand right on the place. I said, show me where you have the most pain in the shoulder. Put her fingers there, and then I put the first patch where, actually it was 9 o'clock to that patch, the white, where she thought would be the next place. And yeah, that wasn't bad. Went a little less, and then we moved it to the other place, and the pain was gone. And she kept it on for 2 days, and the pain was gone, and I got sold on it. And then it was last year in Berlin when I started patching dogs and horses that I'm going to talk about later that I couldn't. I'm really sold. So we've had a wonderful time with Dr. Quila Rider at the celebration, patching lots of people. And I think you're going to talk about that, aren't you?
Yeah, in a little bit. I think on to our next slide, please.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
And maybe, Robyn, you can start off here and just talk a little bit about this and then go on to the next
Yeah.
one.
So the Aculife are the pain patches that are made specifically for horses, but they're pretty interchangeable, it seems, with the Icewave patches for people. They're really similar. And so we found that they really do offer overall, you know, sort of reduction in pain and so on. And I have used this with my own dog. I have a Jack Russell Terrier that's 14, and he actually has a torn cruciate ligament. And so he was limping quite a bit, but he's a small dog and older, so they thought surgery, we didn't maybe need to do it. And I've found that using the patches has really diminished his pain levels. And he's going to run around anyway. You know, people say, well, isn't that going to actually make him worse? But he runs just as fast. He just doesn't limp as much, and he's not shaky and so on when he's got the patches on. So I put them on for a couple of days. I take them off, and then I put them on again. And he's actually really doing pretty well. And I've got him off of, in his case, he'd had as much pain meds as he could actually have. So it's been it's really been a big difference to him.
And Robyn, talk about ISIS, because you sent the patches with horse.
Right. So the ISIS is a 29-year-old horse, and I think the slide of that is further down, actually.
It is.
Yeah. So we'll talk about him when we get to the patch in this, or to that slide maybe, because it just tells a little bit more about his story. So if we go to the next, slide. So this was a really interesting slide for me, or this little story. And Quila actually was the first horse that she patched. And when you're patching horses, because you can't ask them where the pain is, the same with dogs. But so what she did is she just kind of palpated the neck a bit and found out where he had pain. And they did this he has a split mane. And if you're a non-horse person, you may not know that if a horse, you know, horses generally the mane will fall to one side, and sometimes you'll have a mane that will fall part on one side and part on the other. And one of the things that a lot of the chiropractors look at when they see that is that it means that there's a subluxation in the vertebrae. So it's basically gravity is pulling the neck. There's it from one side or the other. So you can see where the mane's about halfway. And then so she just went along and patched the neck. In the neck. Where is their patch there? You have the next slide, maybe, Quila.
It's up behind the ear, between the halter and the ear.
Oh, I see. I see. Right up. Yeah, in front of the halter.
No, there isn't one there now.
There isn't. So how about go to the next slide?
There we go.
Let's see. So she patched further down on the base of the neck, basically at C5, and then up and starting along the bladder meridian. You can start to see the mane has started on its own to just flip over without brushing it or without doing anything. And then a little bit further along, you just go to the next slide, you can see how all that was left. This was in a matter of 10 minutes or so. Is that what you said, Quila?
Actually, it was probably even 5 minutes or so, because as fast as I
Right.
could put the patches on, I went to
Yeah,
the other
so-
side to finish up. And
Yeah, so
by that
I feel that
time,
this is pretty significant, because I've had this happen with a few horses of doing a session of TTouch and maybe heat and having it go over the next day, but I've never seen anything. And then now the mane was then all over to one side, which
yeah.
that was really interesting. All right, so then Isis is the next one, and this horse of Sandy Rakowitz is a 29-year-old thoroughbred gelding with arthritis and maybe Lyme's, and he really started to kind of go downhill, and she couldn't really give him any more bute, and she had used lots of TTouch, she used essential oils, and a lot of alternatives, but the Lifewave patches, he started to move around, more willing to move, moving more freely, and was more able to eat. Now, I actually just heard from Sandy today, and she is using them actually now on his front legs on one of the meridians, and she changes them a couple of times a week, and he is just doing really, really well. She's really pleased. So, Linda, let's maybe you could move on to this. Is this little Eve?
Yes, this was my first dog that I patched in Berlin, and she's a 6-year-old Yorkie who is in the home of one of our really outstanding practitioners, dog trainers, has a big dog training school in Berlin, and she'd had some really good people try to work on this dog's back, but they could not touch her back. She was really super sensitive, and they couldn't put a harness on her. And so I said, well, let's just put the patches on her. And I just put them on. And that was easy to do that. And within less than a minute, I could touch her like this. And she just was so totally quiet and really interested. And then we put the harness on her. And the next day in the class, everybody could touch her. And 1 week later, Katya said it's the first time since she had her, she played with the pack. She'd never dared to play. So I was very blown away by this. Look at the other little picture of her. This is, you can see where she was willing to stand up and stand quietly with everyone, and she was very interested in this. So let's move on. Now this was Kiwi. This was another dog who looks pretty fierce in this one. She was also 8 years old, super sensitive. She's had a great deal of work on her. Wonderful. All kinds of wonderful chiropractic work, but she was very concerned about her hindquarters and didn't want to lift the back legs separately. When she would step over things, she'd hop over them. She could not separate her back legs. And I just put the patches on her and did some of our tail work and different touches on her, and she was really enjoying it. And what Gabi said, Gabi is one of our dog trainers from Germany, she said that she knows that she loves the patches. When she goes to put them on, she actually is interested and will come up and ask for them. And this has been March last year, and she just continues to get more supple and more, really improved with these patches.
Nice. So I think, Quila, maybe you're going to tell us a little bit about how they work.
Sure, thank you. The patches work very differently from everything else that I had ever done. I'd done a lot of energy work in my 30, 40 years of acupuncture and natural medicine. They actually work kind of like acupuncture, but without needles. You put them on the sore spots, as in the case of the horses that you saw, or the dog, palpate, find the spot where they kind of flinch, and put them on. And yet, as you could see in some of the pictures, the backing, the paper backing, was not taken off because nothing goes in the body. It works on a signal, kind of like a light signal, that when it gets close to the body, it fires, and if the body needs the signal, it will pick it up and use it. So you can't overdose on it, and it works along the same principles as acupuncture in that if there is a problem in the body with pain or some other dysfunction, that means the energy is not flowing, just like what principles you use in TTouch. And so the patches actually give the body a signal that tells it to move, and the body picks up the signal and does the moving. So the pain patches and the energy patches are a two-patch system. White is on the right side of the body usually, and tan on the left. With the pain patches and the Aculife patches for the animals, we can actually move them pretty much any way we want. And they come in a set, just like this, with patches in a little package of white and tan. There are other patches, but all of them work along the same way. This is showing you how the signal, this is under magnification, of course, and then Kirlian photography over here, showing you how the signal, when it gets close to the body of the animal or the person, kind of fires, and you get this light signal coming off, and that's what the body picks up and uses. It's very, very unique and very different compared to most other, for instance, acupuncture modalities. And I found that as an acupuncturist, I could use the patches and get far faster and quicker results, especially like with pain, than I could when I was using needles or magnets or some of the other ways that I was doing acupuncture. Now, what impressed me most about the patches was, in the very beginning, they had research, and they've continued the whole 8-9 years they've been in business, spending well over $1 million on at least 68 clinical studies that shows that these patches do what the company says. Most other companies don't go to this kind of trouble, if you will, and expense to prove that their products work to this extent, but they're very much into the science behind it. In fact,
can I just interrupt you for 1 minute?
Please.
There was just a question on somebody. Nikki, one of the callers says she's lost all sound, and I wonder if other people have as well. It was just came in on the as a question.
Because
I don't know.
Yeah, if she has the only one.
Somebody put their hand up too.
Yeah, go ahead and check.
I'm just checking.
Okay, sound is fine. Okay.
Quila, maybe they could get onto their phone. There's also a phone line that
Phone
people
number.
can dial in on.
Yeah, Nikki's from South Africa, so sound okay here from Bob. So maybe it was just, so Nikki seems to be the only one so far that has lost her sound.
So you might check your connection and all.
Yeah, well, she won't be able to hear us, that, will she?
Oh, yes.
Oh, she can probably see us. Just a minute. Maybe I can send her a thing. So it seems like everybody else is. So I'll just send her a message. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, she can log out and go back in. Yeah.
Thanks, Robyn.
Okay. Yeah, glad to know. We don't want Nikki to be out. So what I'll do is, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go down here and click on the panel at the, oops, under the here. I'm going to get my panel up here. Oh, wonderful, Nikki. Good. Want to get my screen back up so I can go do the research. You guys, for some reason it's not coming up. There it is. Okay.
It's not coming up?
So what I'm going to do is show you. Yeah, I'm going to show. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to show you where you're going to find this research that we're talking about. Darn. It's not a panel for me, and I don't want it to. So let me go up and...
Okay, so the research showing now.
Look at that. There we go. There we go. All right. So this is the Lifewave website, and we have some links down on other slides to show you. It'll be lifewave.com/TTouch, and it will show up right here in the middle of the main page. Everybody has basically the same page. But down here where the patches are shown, if you click on any one of the patches, it will show you then a drop-down menu right here with research at the very bottom, and click on that, and you will see that we have 68 studies for you to go into, and if you're real curious about the science part. This is what one of them looks like that was published in Hippocrates magazine, and this was on the glutathione. It showed exactly how the patches worked. Some of them come with little round balls. But I wanted to show you this in particular because this particular, let's see here, I want to make this bigger so you can see the numbers here. This is one of the studies that I've been fortunate enough to be involved in. And what I did is I took 15 people, and for 8 days we patched them. We did a baseline blood draw of glutathione levels, and you'll see everybody had different amounts. On this particular first person, that was the baseline. Day 1, after wearing the patch for 24 hours, it went way up. Day 2, it went up even further. Day 3, it went way up. And day 4, even further. Now this shows that the person who this particular subject was needed glutathione. The patch is not making the body make glutathione. The body is only doing it if it needs it. Because see here on day 5, it went down. They didn't need as much glutathione on that day. And you can see this on the website, and you will see every person was different. Some days they had more than others, and it was only as the body needed it. So all right, let me go back to our patches, our slideshow here, and get back in the groove here. Okay, I think right here. All right, so there are 8 different patches. There is 3 anti-aging ones, and we're going to go through them all for you. And an energy, a pain patch, a sleep patch, and the horse patch, Aculife. So I think at this point, let's have Randy come on.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Quila. And, you know, when we started 8.5 years ago, the only patch that we had was the Energy Enhancer. And I used to be a professional skier, and I'm a good skier still. And so what I did is I went out on the ski slope, and I started trying it on a lot of different people. I'd usually find 5 or 10 new people every morning. I'd put the patches on. I'd have them drink a glass of water, because one of the only 2 reasons we find that the patches don't work for people is they're either dehydrated, so water's key for anybody who's first trying the patches or anytime you're using them, or we're just not quite getting the patches in the proper place. And the nice thing about the energy patches, on the brochure you'll get, there's about 6 spots that you can use to white on the right, tan on the left, and it's very easy to find the spots, and they're different acupuncture points that really help. And so I ended up, I'd go ski with people. They'd be able to ski longer and harder, and at the end of the day, they've just done more runs than they've ever done before, and they weren't tired, or they weren't as tired as they normally would be. And at the end of the day, the next day they didn't have the lactic acid they would normally have. So that's sort of where we got started. And then when the first animal that I tried the patches on was my dog Kia. Val and I had Bichon Frises, and Kia was 15 years old, and she'd had a major issue happen to her physically that I just, we didn't think she was going to make it through it. And so we took her out to the cabin to basically have a nice, our last weekend together. I phoned Dr. Quila. I said, explain the situation, and Quila said, why don't you just try the patches behind the ears? And so I put the patches on behind the ears, white on the right, tan on the left. And of course, we all know the ears are full of acupuncture points. And within 5 minutes, Kia stood up, shook herself off, started walking around normal, and she lived another year and a half. And that afternoon, she was out chasing marmots in the back of the cabin. And so we knew that she was back. But I remember, Quila, it was like a miracle. It actually happened on the phone.
Yeah, I kind of even heard some tearing in your voice, Randy.
Yeah.
Well,
It's heartwarming.
Well, Randy, do you want to just explain too how these patches got started with David? Because I think this is quite interesting in terms of the first reason that he actually developed them.
Sure, yeah. Quila, do you want to go ahead and explain that?
Sure. David Schmidt's been an inventor since he was a little kid. And as he grew up, of course, he went to work for various companies, and one of them was a subcontractor for the Navy SEALs. And they were assigned the task of finding some way to keep the Navy SEALs energized and awake while they were in their mini subs, going out many, many miles away from their main sub, and staying awake for 2 and 3 days at a row and swimming 15 or 20 miles, and so they needed energy. Well, David was very big into Oriental martial arts and Tai Chi and those kinds of technologies and practices. So he knew that if the body's energy was flowing good, these mostly men, would be able to stay awake and alert and be able to perform their duties if there was just some way that he could keep their energy flowing. Well, he knew he couldn't use supplements because they're in big jugs and there's no room on the mini sub. And he also knew they couldn't use stimulants because, of course, you have the rise in energy, but then you crash. So he came up with this idea of a little patch that has a liquid crystalline substance in it that basically gives the body a signal, make more energy if you need it, and burn it from fat. So they actually found an increase of energy in the research that they did on this particular study right down here to the tune of 21% more oxygen uptake and fat burning and energy was produced by this little patch when they finally tested it. But anyway, his company would not do anything more with it, so he left and started his own business in his garage, kind of like other major inventors, and that was the beginning of Lifewave about 10 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you just look at the, what the patches do, what people find is they put the patches on and they have nice steady energy all day long. It's not like any sort of ephedra or coffee experience, caffeine experience, or Red Bull or anything like that. It's just a nice steady energy all day long, and you're not overworking the body. I've literally had a set of energy patches on. I usually put a set on and leave them on for a couple of days and then change them. But for the last 8.5 years, I've pretty much always had a set of energy patches on. And I'm almost 60, and I feel I've probably got as good of energy as a lot of 20-year-olds. And I realized that when I was skiing. I was skiing with the Australian freestyle team a couple of years ago and was able to keep up with them in the bumps, which, they're less than half my age. So, and I do attribute it a lot to just having the energy patches, sustained energy, steady. So that's
Real quickly, Randy, let me interject here then, because that was kind of what my experience was when I first found the patches. First of all, I couldn't believe it. You can't just put patches on even clothing like it said in the brochure and expect it to move the chi of the body, the energy. No way. I was an acupuncturist. I know you can't do that. But I was well over 60 and beginning to kind of fade in my work week that was extending into 90 hours between my nursing job and my acupuncture clinic. So I thought, what the heck, let's try it. But you know what? I didn't notice anything either during the day. It was only when I got home that night, I didn't collapse on the sofa like I usually did and was asleep by 8 o'clock. I was energized enough to do some computer work and cook myself a decent meal. So then that's when I realized, hey, these are working.
Yeah. You know, and I have to say about the energy patches, when we were teaching, Linda and I were teaching at the Bitterroot Ranch, which is at 7,500 feet, and one of the participants was having a problem with her asthma, and she didn't think she could actually walk up to where we were working with the horses. And after I patched her, she was totally okay to walk up and work around the horses, and you know, we were all quite surprised. And then several people were having trouble with the altitude and found that wearing the energy patches just very, very quickly, I mean, almost instantly, just they were, in those cases, they were, you know, right with it and felt like the fog had cleared from their eyes.
Yeah, and Quila, when you think that that's, as you know, you were talking about, it increases the oxygen capabilities in the body, is it?
Yes.
That,
yes, it does. And they have studies to show that. May I add before we go on?
So
yeah, we might want to mention the Olympics.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to add something here before we move on. Is, you know, we started off with the energy patches. We had literally so many athletes. You know, we had football players, basketball players, baseball players, people, you know, from all over the world, Olympic athletes using this for their training. And, you know, we've had many people use the patches in competition as well. And the nice thing is there's nothing that goes in the body. It's been tested by the anti-doping committee to show that there's absolutely nothing that enters the body. So it's totally safe from that standpoint. And the difference that it's made in professional athletes has just been phenomenal. That's what we've seen over and over. So anything else to add there, Quila?
I think not. I think that does it.
Okay. On to the ice wave.
All right, this is my favorite patch because there is nothing worse than pain, and any of you who are health providers of any kind, in fact even with your animals, the horses, dogs, and cats, to see somebody or some animal in pain is just heartbreaking. So I love this patch, and I have participated in a couple of their studies, not this one particular one, but others showing the difference between a placebo and the patch itself. And with animals, we certainly don't have to worry about the placebo effect because they have no preconceived notion as to whether or not it's going to work. But they show the results immediately when you get those patches in the right spot. So this study is one that uses thermography. This particular athlete, it was, I believe, a football player with an upper back and shoulder painful area. So they put the patches on in this upper area, and 5 to 10 minutes later, look at the difference in the inflammation. And, of course, he got pain relief also. This is a man who had an abdominal pain area. And this is the before, and here's the after, all the way down to the belt buckle is totally changed in color, showing that he not only has pain relief, but that he also, of course, has decreased inflammation, which can keep you from healing. So once the pain actually gets relieved, then it's not just about getting the pain gone. The body now can heal. That's the cool thing about these patches. The body then will take over and bring in circulation or repair tissues or do whatever it needs to do. Whereas most other pain relief modalities that we know of, such as the creams and lotions and so on, don't keep the energy flowing long enough for the body to be able to heal. In fact, even with acupuncture, you would have to come back multiple times a week to keep the energy flowing, because an acupuncture session only lasts maybe 72 hours. So I have had phenomenal results with this particular patch in relieving any kind of pain that people present, from the headaches to the pain in their feet from lack of circulation. Now this,
just quiet.
yes.
Excuse me, quiet. Maybe just, Robyn, I know you've had some great results around your house with this patch. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. So my husband Phil had back surgery a year ago at Christmas, and he had stenosis, and so it was supposed to relieve some of the calcification, and it helped a little bit for a while, and then it started to get worse and worse and worse, and it was sort of all going down one side, and he was on a lot of pain medication, and they said it was because the nerves, they needed to do something to dull the nerves, so they gave him anti-epilepsy drugs, which really only made him drop things. It didn't actually change anything about the pain. And so at the end of January, the patches, we were using the patches at times. The patches would allow him to get out of bed, which is what he couldn't do on some days with very much comfort. And so but we couldn't get really relief. We couldn't lower his pain below maybe a 7 out of 10. And so in the end of January, we went down to the Lifewave conference for the very reason, actually, so he could talk to Quila and actually figure out how we could patch him. And he happened to forget his pills on the way we left to go, and was still in quite a bit of pain when we got there. And then we learned some techniques about stacking patches and so on. And his pain has gone from a 7/8 to a 0 to maybe 2 at times, but more just discomfort, mild discomfort rather than the kind of pain that he had originally. He stands up. He could hardly stand up straight. He just looked like he was 100 years old and was just in agony all the time from not being able to do it. So I'm pretty excited about it, because it was just finding the right places and what we could do. So it's fantastic.
Oh, that's great, Robyn. That's exciting.
And I see there is a question here about where to place the patches. One of the things the company gives you is, when you purchase a package, you get a brochure that comes with it that has real nice little pictures, and it tells you exactly how to put the patches on. So, and then you've got this whole team of people behind you here that, will exchange email addresses and so on with you, so that we can support you in learning how to do this yourself. It's very easy once you get the hang of it.
And if I can add one thing, there's also a handbook, a manual, or what's it, the Lifewave handbook, I guess?
Yes, handbook.
Yes, that has a lot of different patch placement suggestions in it that is definitely worthwhile getting when you decide to get some products. So
and nice pictures. The pictures mean everything.
Yeah. Easy to figure out.
Yeah, easy.
And I had, at Robyn's suggestion, this is Linda, I did the 7-day protocol, and with using the various patches, because she had such success with it, and I'm really impressed. And it was just so simple to follow the book. At first I thought, how am I going to be able to do this? But it was really simple.
And I think, Linda, that was the Y-age ones, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So they have 3 different Y-age patches. This is one of them. And they're a system. They each one do something different. This particular one is the latest one that they came out with, and it relieves inflammation similarly to what the Lifewave Pain Patch does. I'll show you a picture here in a minute. And it also, when we were testing it, I did part of the testing on this one too, blood draws and cortisol levels and adrenaline levels and so on in blood. Because one of the effects that this has is it tells the body to balance out the stress hormones. Now, we're all under stress. I have not talked to anybody in the last few years that isn't stressed out for one reason or another. If it's not the economy, it's the family situation, it's the weather, it's whatever. So this patch was nicknamed by the people participating in the studies the happy patch, because you get a feeling of well-being when you lower your cortisol levels, again, according to what your body needs. It doesn't make the body do it. The body picks up the signal, and if your cortisol and adrenaline is stuck on high, like so many people's are, it will then bring it back down to normal, and you get this relaxed, I can cope with anything feeling. One lady even said, "Oh, I feel like I'm back on my Prozac." But of course, no side effects. That's the beauty of these patches.
Can I ask one question? There's some people that are on that have questions, and I don't know.
Yeah, interrupt me.
I don't know where their question. It just shows on the little thing that they have questions. I'm just looking at the box on the side.
Oh,
so
I see.
If they have a question, whether they should just write it in the box, and I'm not sure if that's open for people to do that.
Yes.
In the chat box below.
No, not in the chat. In the actual question box.
Right at the very bottom, right.
And then. And we can address those at the end. We're going to leave some time here to go through that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll make sure you get your questions answered. This is the Eon patch that was again tested with thermography and many other methods, but this is one that's so beautiful to see. This man, as you can see, had pain in his upper chest area and all the way down his arms. And this is a series of pictures showing 5 minutes later on this one. Look how much is already relieved. 10 minutes later here, and 15 minutes later all the way down the arm is much reduced inflammation. That means he not only had pain relief, but now the body can start the healing process. And again, here's the research down at the bottom where you can look up what the results were. The next patch is the glutathione patch. This was the first one they came out with as an anti-aging, because glutathione is something our body makes. But as we get older, it doesn't make enough. And we get the signs and symptoms of aging, everything from wrinkles to some of the ailments of aging. Because glutathione's made in every single cell of the body, and it gets rid of rust or junk or chemicals. And so when you get rid of those things on a daily basis, when you have lots of glutathione, you basically stay young and healthy. And lots of studies out there done by many other companies on glutathione levels. And you will see that people that are sick don't have enough. Young healthy people or old healthy people that have plenty of glutathione do not have the signs and symptoms of aging like most other people. Any comments there, everyone? Okay. Go on to the next one. This is the carnosine patch. It also is made in the body by the body, and again, the patch doesn't make the body make more. It offers it to the body. It is found primarily in muscles, so think heart, and in nerves, think brain. You have to have carnosine to make a healthy nerve fiber or repair muscle fibers. So this has been used, carnosine, as a supplement for many years in the weightlifting and athletic fields as a powder that people add. Well, going in the gastric system, it's not utilized as well as when your body makes enough of its own carnosine, and it will do the same thing in that it will allow the body to repair muscles and nerves. So it has a huge effect on pain also, just like glutathione does, and Eon, of course. all three of the anti-aging. Now they are a little different from the Ice Wave and the energy patches because they are single patches. And again, you get little brochures that have pictures in them that shows you exactly how to use them. And we're here to help you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, the carnosine was one of the patches that we added to Phil because one of the things that it also apparently can help do is break down scar tissue, and that was, so we put it actually where he'd had the back op.
Yeah, and actually glutathione we found does the same thing.
Well, yes, he has that on too. He's got one of each on top of it, and that's really made a difference.
And that's a nice point to bring up because it does facilitate the Ice Wave to work even better. Randy?
Yeah. I was just going to add, maybe Robyn, I know you started using the Y-Age protocol, and maybe you can talk a little bit about what you found back in November when you started.
Yeah, well, I actually, because we both travel a lot, and I started doing the sort of 7-day protocol just out of curiosity, and what my daughter Mandy, who was traveling with me, said that she thought it made me easier to get along with. and it's that whole thing is, when someone asks you, what's your mood been like, and I always say, well, ask someone who lives with me.
Yeah, really.
And but the one thing that I then added to it after talking to Quila at the celebration was I added some energy patches with the Y-Age protocol, as you were saying, to really get the energy going. So that it just, I didn't have any sort of obvious detox effects of it, but that it was important to really help to move the chi and so on, and so I found that that's also been helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And the sleep patches.
Sleep patch. Now, one of you guys had a real good result with that, didn't you?
I did, actually. I have found, in fact, I tried using it originally because I've never slept really well, and luckily I'm not a person that gets tired, but when Randy then suggested that I needed to use it more days in a row, so I used it for several days in a row, and what I found that it did is it quieted my brain, because that's one of the problems that I have sometimes is my brain just gets going. I can fall asleep, but then I wake up with all the things that I need to do, particularly when I'm on the road. And and even if I don't sleep long, I have a better quality of sleep. And so it's been really beneficial to me.
Well, and as many...
Any kind of, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I stopped taking any kind of sleeping pills. I used to just when I travel would take half a sleeping pill, and I did not like the groggy feeling. And you still have days then you can't sleep. So anyway, I found it really helpful.
Randy?
No, I'm just going to add. I'd sleep really well, but I decided to start using them anyway. And what I found is I have a much more rested sleep, and my dreams are absolutely. It's like you're in the dream. It's very vivid. And I'm remembering the dreams very distinctly in the morning, which is kind of fun.
And as most of you probably well know, if you're not sleeping well, you're not able to stay healthy, because there is a certain part of our sleep cycle where you actually do your major healing. So people that have disrupted sleep, and like you guys, both Linda and Robyn, actually Randy too, all the travel you do, that's very disruptive. You're in different time zones. You are in different environments. You're in your own bed. All of these things are disruptive and do not help you sleep. And so using a patch like this to help you sleep good so that you won't get sick when you travel and it won't age you, your body will be able to repair, is one of the beauties of this. And again, no side effects, and easy to place on your forehead or behind your ear or someplace according to the instructions again, and take it off in the morning when you get up. So
yeah, and then you can even, once what we recommend is you use a new patch every night until you start sleeping, getting a good night's sleep, and then you can actually use the same patch for a few nights in a row, and just because you are only using them 6 or 8 hours at a time, you can just leave them beside your bed or whatever. But that's what we're finding. You can get 2 or 3 nights per patch out of them once you sort of get your body balanced out, is what I've experienced anyway.
Yeah. And again, no side effects.
Exactly.
Okay, then the last patch they've come out with is the patch for animals. Anybody want to?
And I'll tell you what. Well, I'd like to jump in here because I had the honor to actually go and spend some time with John Chance, who was probably he's part of our upline support team that went out and went after the horse market about 4 years ago, and he actually specifically went after the rodeo crowd because he was from Alabama, and he had some connections in that. And in the last 4 years, he's patched over 18,000 horses and has seen just incredible results. And the nice thing about this patch, just like the Icewave patch, is that it can help alleviate pain within a matter of minutes. And so when you have a horse that's in pain or an animal that's in pain, and you can relieve their pain, in a matter of minutes, if they're in a competition, let's say, or, if they're just, your favorite animal that, you want to see, have a better life, that's one thing that our patches here can do, the Aculife patches. And there is a website, aculifenow.com. It's more based around sort of one discipline in the horse world, but it will really give you an idea of how to, at least where to, how to look for some pain in the horses, and how to patch, and then you'll see the results right there in front of your eyes. And I went and spent a week with them about a month ago in Arizona, and we patched probably 40 horses, and I kept seeing it over and over where the horses would run around like they were free again, where these were horses that came to us that were really not moving that well, and all of a sudden they were just feeling great again. And so we've seen some amazing results with this. And then the interesting thing, the Eon, which helps calm people down. We just had an opportunity to experience with a few sort of high-strung horses in the last little while, and just you can see, just like people, it just helps calm animals down as well. So it's kind of an interesting combination, but we've seen some great results with the Aculife. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything there.
Well, I can give some stories that John says, tells stories of horses who do not trailer well, or rescue animals that have been abused and so do not like humans, and how much the Eon relaxing patch really helped them calm down. So then you can do your TTouch and other methodologies on them, and of course relieve the pain that they might have.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Linda or Robyn?
Well, I really want to talk about one of the horses that I patched last year in Wyoming, a mare that had foundered the day before, and she'd had acupuncture and Chinese herbs, and was doing a little bit better. But when I went down to
Hey, Linda, sorry to interrupt. Can you get a little closer to your mic, please?
Yeah, sorry.
And I can hear you typing, I think, Robyn.
Yeah, somebody's typing.
I'm just answering the questions. I'll turn off my mic.
Yeah, great.
So we know you're busy. So anyway, I went down the next day, and this mare was standing in the paddock with the hay in front of her, not eating, with her back feet tucked way up under her, and just really looking miserable. And I had taken the patches down because I wanted to see how she was. I thought she would have been better from the acupuncture for the night before, but she wasn't, in my opinion. And so I just put these I put the left on patch, the little can on the left side in the Gaskin area, which I learned many years ago from a vet, works for with acupuncture for a horse that has a severe laminitis with a lot of heat in the feet. I put the patches on both sides, and within 2 minutes, the mare picked her head up, walked down to the river, drank, came back, and was eating. And I mean, I just could not get over. You know,
Yeah.
these are the things, we've seen this kind of change in people, and I personally have experienced it a few times when I was in such pain from sitting at the typewriter. I thought, oh my God, I just cannot lift my head anymore or my hand. Stick the patches on and keep going, and the
Yeah.
pain goes.
Yeah.
That's great. Robyn, you had a horse that you were working with. I thought it was in Australia last year that was in the stall that you just put third eye.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a stallion that had never actually been to an event before, and was a Brumby stallion actually, and never been in a stall really. And so they were outdoor stalls, but there's still a lot of confusion and other horses and stallions and mares and so on. And he was just going round and round and round his stall, and it was just soaking wet. And so I just sent over the Eon patch, and I said I'll come over and do some work with him, but just put this, and I just had him put it in the middle of his forehead between his eyes. So they just kind of put it on there, and within a minute he stopped, and he was obviously still sweating, but his respiration started to lower. He dropped his head, and he really chilled. And we did it with actually 2 stallions, and noticed quite a big difference with both of them.
Wow, that's exciting. Definitely. Well, great.
Okay.
Anything?
Can we answer a few questions? If there's no, can I?
Yeah. They can see this slide without us explaining what it's about. But yeah,
Sure.
let's answer some questions.
So one of the questions was, how many patches can you use at once?
There really is no limit.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is there's no drugs, there's no side effects. Personally, I use my energy patches I have on all the time. I usually have an Eon on just at the top of my back, or C7, the bump at, at the bottom of the neck, personally. And then a lot of times I'll have my glutathione on just under my belly button. And so I have usually 4 patches on at a time. If people have pain, sometimes, you'll use one set. If it's extreme pain, you might need 2 sets, but normally I use 1 set of pain patches, maybe with an Eon, and maybe a glutathione stacked on. But there's a few different ways. But Quila, maybe you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Sure. We actually have different protocols for different areas of the body. We oftentimes combine the YH with the pain patches, because those 3 patches facilitate the body's ability to heal. And so we get faster, longer lasting pain relief and quicker recovery. And with the energy patches, because of all the toxins that we're exposed to from every source you can imagine these days, including our animals and their feed and the air and water they're exposed to, they are also getting toxins. Using the YH patches with the energy patches will help them then keep their energy and chi flowing, so that they won't develop many discomforts and disabilities that horses often, or dogs often do. In fact, I use them on my kitty.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the people that's on the webinar said that for you, Quila, is our 23-year-old cat that was dying with a heart attack and stroke 2 years ago still races about the house like a kitten and has the best coat of fur ever, mainly just using glutathione under the collar every so often.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's mostly what I use on my kitty. I found out that she doesn't wear a collar, but that if I put it on her chest, like where the instructions say for humans to wear, it's off in a half a millisecond. But if I put it on the top of her head, thinking, at first I thought, well, she won't be able to reach it. But then I thought, oh, you silly person, you. Cats can reach every single part of their body by either a foot or their mouth, and she left it on. And she takes it off after about 3 days, like, oh, it's used up.
Yeah. So one other question is, can the patches be used by pregnant women?
It's not recommended by the company because of the medical liability issues. There's no way they will ever do research on pregnant or nursing women, so they don't recommend it. However, As a nurse midwife, I, of course, had them being used on my daughters as they gave birth, or actually my granddaughters it was, and in pregnancy to relieve like some of the symptoms of low back pain and swelling of the ankles and stuff like that. And then we've used them on numerous people for the discomfort of labor.
Oh, right.
So
I'll have to talk to you about that for Mandy.
Yeah. So you have to take that on your own risk, because the company does not recommend it for that or small babies. And again, we've used them with certain precautions. You use them for a very short time on young children, literally minutes, and their discomfort is often alleviated.
Right. So, and then another question was, and you kind of answered this, that the YH protocol says to use the carnosine separately from the glutathione. Can they be used together?
They can. We use all of the patches together at times. In fact, one day on a call, Dr. Steve, the head of health and science, was asked that question, and he said, well, let me just count what I just took off. He had just come back from a long European plane flight, and he had 2 sets of Icewave on for his back and for his feet. He had a set of energy patches on his upper shoulders. He had the sleep patch on so he could sleep. And he had all 3 of the anti-aging patches on. I forget how many it ended up to be, but it was a lot.
And another question, excuse me, was might this help with dizziness? Have you ever dealt with anybody that's, I guess it depends on what's causing the dizziness.
Yeah, and you know what we find is that there is nothing so far I've seen that the patches won't help, because the body knows how to heal. The only thing that's causing dizziness, for instance, is a blockage of energy. When we get the energy open, voila, the body heals.
Right. And then let's see, where's this one? Where to patch for pain in the Achilles tendon, I guess. I've tried bracketing with Icewave, Eon, and carnosine on the sore spot. Any suggestions for that?
Well, again, we've got, this support team for you, so we might have to do a personal call with you. And we do this over Skype. We do it over email. We can, Google Plus has a video system now. So with all our wonderful technology, we can certainly help anybody anywhere in the world with specific patching situations.
Right. So
one thing, Robyn,
sorry.
I'd just like to add something here, and this is only because the flu season is out there. We've seen some pretty interesting results with the glutathione on the throat. And Quila, I'm sure you've seen this.
Yeah, I had it myself when I came back from your wonderful celebration, which, by the way, it was so wonderful to meet all of you TTouch people. That was the first time I'd been in a whole group of you. And it was so wonderful because you're all so like-minded, and it's kind of hard to find that large of a group anywhere in the world that has the same kind of attitudes about healing and health and so on. But anyway, I got feeling sick as I was driving home. And so I used those patches, and I was only sick for about 3 days, whereas I know people that were out of work for over 2 weeks.
Right.
And I had a cough that lingered. And finally, we do webinars for these patches to help people learn how to do them. And one of the presenters was showing us the lymphatic drainage points, and I used the patches on my drainage points that night after watching the webinar. Next morning, woke up, no cough.
Well, good. So this was, sorry, a question about neurological symptoms of degenerative myelopathy in dogs, which I talked to her today, and I don't know if anybody's used that at all with
well, I'm glad she brought this up, he or she, because we don't deal with diseases with Lifewave. We don't need to. If you think about what myopathy is, it's pain in the muscles. And so all we need to know is that there's pain. And in the brochure, it'll show you 2 or 3 different methods for different parts of the body on how to simply move the patches around without taking the back off and committing to any particular place and finding the pain relief spot, and voila, then you put them on permanently, either on the animal. And by the way, you guys want to address how they stick on fur?
Right, they stick well on fur. I find that for most animals, I have to actually take them off, and because they stick well. Now, imagine if you had a horse, say, that was really sweating, it might come off a little bit sooner, but certainly they are definitely very very sticky. So probably in the case of the myelopathy would be even the bladder meridian on a dog is just to help support the dog, because it's more in this dog's case, it's more they don't really know what's wrong, so it's that whole thing of by elimination, they're just trying to figure out what's wrong with the dog. So
right.
Just trying this might help it. But then there was a question about weight loss, and we didn't really talk about the weight loss patches, but there is a patch that for some people helps with appetite. Is that right?
Well, that brings up a good point. We are going to do webinars like this twice a month for all of you folks. And we will choose certain topics and so on based on what your need is. So be sure and write to, in fact, let me get a slide here. Next one. Okay, and email Randy at this one. There we go. Or call and let us know what you need, because we're going to be developing webinars twice a month for all of you, and we'll do what you guys want to know about. Okay.
There's just a couple of comments that might be useful. Use an Eon patch on a reactive dog. Could only patch the collar and the dog calmed in a few minutes. That's something that people have noticed. And another was use glutathione on the top of a cat's head and carnosine on GB14 for recovery from renal failure. It worked well. Is there anything else they can do for her to support her, for the cat? So
for immune system?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we would go after the spleen points probably. And there are, of course, if you guys don't know, acupuncture charts for animals up on the internet, absolutely free, or you can buy ones that you can hang in your office or wherever you need to, so that you can resource very quickly.
Mm-hmm. So one question was, can we get a copy of the webinar, and we're going to actually have it. We're going to have it up on the TTouch website. We will have to send you we'll have to let you know where exactly it will be found on the website.
Yeah,
Robyn, we're going to email everybody that was online or that
Perfect.
That
signed up.
Signed up. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get that out. So. Quila, why don't you just go back to a couple of slides back here real quick, and then we'll sort of finish this end and then keep the questions going just in case people do have to get going. But there is just one back there as well. That's good. So yeah, really, for anybody who's brand new to this, has never, heard about this, was invited on by somebody, first off, obviously after the, if you're interested in, trying some of this product, get back to the person that invited you onto the call, or contact us and we can direct you to it. But basically there's 3 ways to get started. You can either order 1 or more of the packs at retail and receive a 30-day money-back guarantee on it, so you can try it risk-free if you want to try it that way. Number 2, you can become a wholesale purchaser or member, so that you can actually buy the product at wholesale yourself and order it through your own website at any time that you would like to purchase some, and you can receive a good wholesale price on that. Or if it's something that you have clients or people you're working with and are interested in joining at a professional level, we have professional packages as well that you receive additional discounts on. So what you can do if you are interested in this, you can either give me a call. You can, if you want to go to a website, of course, you can look at the website lifewave.com/TTouch, which is Robyn and Linda's website there. Or if you want to go to the next slide, please, Quila.
Sure.
Again, this is where my information is, and You know, I'm working with Robyn and Linda and Quila, and my business partner Kai Jacobson, who's over in Maui. So we all work this together, and my wife Valerie Guthrie. You know, we've all been involved for a long time, and really are here to help and support people and coach people through being able to use the patches properly for themselves and for their animals. So we're certainly happy to do that. And you know, the interesting thing about this company, we're already in 100 countries in 8.5 years. So, you know, if you have friends almost anywhere in the world nowadays that either have issues personally, or if they have some animals that they'd like some help with, you know, we can get product to them pretty much anywhere in the world now. So, and I think that's why we have, you know, such a diverse crowd. I know we have people from Canada, the U.S., Australia, Europe, South Africa. So we've got, you know, a lot of people from all over the place on the call, and you know, we're, you know, certainly here to help anybody who's interested in, you know, whichever level you decide that you want to get started at. If you want, you can either email me and just say, you know, I'm interested. Here's my phone number set up, and you know what time works for you, and I can either call you back, or I'm pretty much available from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the U.S., and certainly happy to connect. My Skype, I should have put my Skype information. It's Randy L. Hood, but we'll get that on next time. But Randy L. Hood for Lee is my middle name. Randy L. Hood is my Skype name if you want to Skype me, and then we can do this on Skype as well as another way that we can communicate. So happy to help in any way, and also Quila is here to help us as well. So,
and we do have this being recorded, and so we will be able to send out the entire recorded webinar so that you can share it with others. However, remember, it is a little over an hour long so far. Whether or not they could, you know, you would do that as an intro or not, but you will have that available for you guys to use. It has to be sent in either Skype or a Dropbox, something like that, because it will be a lot of kilobytes or whatever they measure it with.
And the link can't be put up on our website to
yes, it can. Both.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just one other question about the recommended time periods to leave it on, take it off, and do they get used up? That was the question.
That's a good question. They do get used up. And the more serious the situation, the faster the body will pick up the signal, like a broken bone, for instance, or a very bad wound. They'll use it up faster in that case than later. So if you muscle test or do any other kind of intuitive technology that you can tune into the patch and say, is this patch used up, and so on, that's the best way to make sure that it's still good or not. They will get a return of pain until the body has had a chance to heal the situation. And that's another way you can tell. Palpate if they're touchy again, or if it's a person, they can tell you. But on an animal, you're going to have to touch them and see if they wince like they did when you first used them. Then you'll know you need new ones.
All right. Well, any other questions, Robyn? Or I know we've gone a little over our 1 hour.
Yeah.
We were shooting here.
Yeah, this is pretty much, there's just some questions about the myopathy, but I think I can talk later to her about it. So.
Okay.
And there are apps for smartphones that have acupuncture points. Somebody just pointed out. And yes, so go up, if you have a smartphone, go up to the App Store and you'll find different applications. And some of them are free, some of them cost maybe $10, $20.
Well, excellent.
Hey, this is wonderful. Yeah, good questions, you guys.
Well, I think we'll just kind of wrap this up tonight, but I want to thank everybody for being on the call this evening. Thanks for taking your time tonight. And again, if you have any questions, or want to try some of this product or learn more about it, certainly just call me or email me. Happy to help. And I want to thank, of course, Linda Tellington Jones for taking her time out of her. She kind of cut her clinic short tonight in Hawaii to jump on with us. Thanks very much, Linda, and of course Robyn Hood, my sisters. thanks for being here and everything you're doing. And of course, Dr. Quila Rider, we really appreciate everything you've done and all the help that you've offered.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Putting all together.
Oh, real quickly, the Aculife is available only in the U.S. right now. I'm so glad, Bob. Thank you for reminding us. Yeah. However, we sometimes use the Icewave instead, the pain patch.
Yeah. Oh. All right.
Okay.
Well, anything else, Robyn or Linda?
No, just thanks everybody for their comments and the positive comments at the end. So it was good, very useful. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Have a great night.
Everyone.
And good morning in South Africa.
or wherever you are. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.
Good night.